Hello friends, what are we going to see in this video? Another interesting topic. In the past videos, we saw about Elliott wave theory, isn't it? We saw about breadth. What are the techniques to measure the breadth? Various different varieties of techniques. Many oscillators, indicators, moving averages, etc. But how to measure or how to time the market? Why should we time the market? To identify when to enter or when to exit, isn't it? But is that ideal to time the market? No, it's not advisable to time the market. However, many of us have a question like, are there any tools to time the market? Yes, there are tools to time the market. And those specific tools are the foundations we are going to see right in this video, which we call it as cycle theory. So what we are going to see in this video, foundation of cycle theory. Coming to cycle theory, there are two types of cycle theory. Fixed cycle theory and sequential cycle theory. In fixed one we call it as linear, and sequential we call it as non-linear. Non-linear I'll cover it in the next video. As I said, cycle theory helps us to time the market. However, it's more subjective. Hence, it is not advisable to use cycle theory all alone. So we are supposed to use cycle theory with some of the non-correlated technical indicators like Andrew pitchfork or momentum oscillators. We know many momentum oscillators and Elliott wave as well. So what are we going to do? What are we going to check today right in this video? Cycle theory. Foundation of cycle theory. So sit back, focus and continue. What is a cycle? Four defining characteristics. A cycle refers to a simple oscillation of price movement from a trough to a peak and back lower to another trough. It takes three variables to define cycle: period, amplitude, and phase. What is a period? Unit of time between two consecutive troughs of the same cycle. Second one is amplitude. What is amplitude? The height between a cycle midpoint and crest or trough, peak or trough. Phase. What is phase? The position of cycle relative to its most recent trough. And there is one more significant characteristics which I didn't mention, which is wavelength. Wavelength or frequency. It is also similar to period, but it is not referencing a specific unit of time such as hours, days or weeks. The simple way to conceptualize frequency is to think of the number of periods that fit into the 360-degree rotation of a cycle. For instance, a cycle with a period of 90 days, if it takes 90 days for formation of this cycle, have a frequency of around 4 cycles per year or 1/3 of cycle per month. That is the frequency of cycle. 4 characteristics: period, amplitude, phase and frequency. There are 7 principles for cycles. Cycle theory: cyclicality, harmonicity, summation, synchronicity, proportionality, nominality, variation. Cyclicality. What is it? Cycle theory applicable to all market. Commodities, futures, stock market, bond market, everywhere. That's what cyclicality is all about. Harmonicity. A cycle harmonics are related by multiples of 2 or 3, sometimes 4 as well. In this blue cycle, if we consider this a main cycle or dominant cycle, compared to red, for a single red cycle comprises of 1, 2, 3, 4 blue cycle. So if blue cycle is considered to be the main cycle or dominant cycle, this red cycle is 1/4 harmonic of blue cycle. And within this blue cycle, within this red cycle, there are 2 purple cycles. Right? So this is considered as second harmonic. In comparison with blue cycle, red cycle is considered as 1/4 harmonic. In comparison with red cycle, purple cycle is considered as second harmonics. Summation. In the down bottom, we have 2 different cycles, one dominant cycle and second harmonic. When both the cycle tend to drop down, there is huge drop in the price. Assume this is the price. moving average of price, or it's a composite wave. Right? If two cycles tend to drop together, there is more drop in the price. That is called summation. Fourth one is synchronicity. Even synchronicity means cycle lows tend to bottom in tandem. Here, two cycles tend to bottom together, which is called synchronicity. Proportionality. A cycle's period is proportional to its amplitude. Amplitude we know from the mid-cycle what is the distance of peak or trough. If the amplitude is more, the period is more, which is explained in proportionality. Nominality. Some wave periods are more common than others. If we measure this blue cycle, let me measure this blue cycle. This took 426 days. Some number of days are pretty common than other number of days, other cycles. Few cycles form, it takes 340 days, which will be pretty common. So that's what mentioned in nominality. Some wave periods are more common than others. Finally, variation. As I mentioned, cycle theory is more of subjective in nature. So nothing as taken as gospel of truth. Financial market will not obey theoretical perfection. Little bit of buffer is needed. Numbers, wherever in the numbers, it's not laid on stone. Not to be considered as gospel of truth. It's more subjective in nature, which is mentioned as variation, which is one of the final principles of cycle theory. Fixed cycle tools. We'll see various tools to identify the cycle, dominant cycle and its active harmonics. One of the tools to identify cycle is spectrograms. How to interpret this spectrogram? Spectrogram is used to visualize the result of spectral analysis, mostly used in the music industry to measure the frequency. It is a graph in which y-axis displays cycles amplitude. We know what is amplitude. X-axis represents cycle period. The output of the analysis is commonly displayed as a series of spikes. You can see multiple spikes here. The taller and skinnier the spike, more important the cycle to that market. Dominant cycle is commonly the tallest spike or one of the tallest within the graph. This is the dominant cycle. And harmonics are commonly smaller spikes that are mathematically related to dominant cycle by small whole number. It is necessary to be flexible when interpreting the mathematic relationships between cycle. There are no exact guidelines on how much variation is acceptable. The experience and judgment of the analyst are important. Another tool we use to identify cycle is wavelet diagram. In this tool, wherever you see dark area, meaning no cycle present. Wherever you see orange or yellow area, in that you know that there are cycle present in that. So with wavelet diagram, understanding is wavelet diagrams map cyclical activity over a defined period of time. In this, the results are interpreted in this graph in which y-axis represents the period of cycle and x-axis tracks the date. The presence and strength of cycle is typically displayed as a color, where it's yellow and orange. Fisher transform is another tool used to identify cycle. This is the Fisher transform tool. There is a complex mathematical solution to automating cycle analysis. We don't need the background of how to construct because we use many indicators. It's really complex to identify the mathematics behind each and every indicator, right? There is a Fisher transform tool. What it does, basically it removes this indicator works by transforming non-Gaussian or irregular price data into more Gaussian or normal distribution. Normal distribution, we know, bell-shaped curve. So it removes the irregularities in the prices and creates it as a normal distribution. How can we use this in identifying cycle? We know the troughs. We pick this cycle tool. I'm just doing the rough work and draw cycles from trough to trough. And when you observe all the troughs, most of the troughs match. For example, there is a trough, significant trough, it matches with the cycle. Right? Not exactly, because we need not to be more specific in cycle, little bit buffer needs to be there. Variation is one of the principle of cycle. So this is one more tool. We saw spectrogram, wavelet diagrams, Fisher transform is also another significant tool in identifying the cycles. We saw what are the characteristics of cycle, what are the principles of cycle, three different tools to identify cycle. We'll see non-linear cycle or sequential cycle in the next video. Thank you for sticking till end of this video. Please consider subscribing. Thank you friends. See you. Bye bye.